Welcome back. 2019 tax returns are in, and many are disappointed with their refunds this year. Also, how does that affect income in the Bronx? Chances in the affordable housing lottery. Here to discuss this and much more, we welcome financial expert Jonathan Ortiz. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for coming to Open.
Hey, how are you, Dorissa? Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Now talk a little bit about your position and what you exactly do here.
What I do for a living is that I help the community manage their finances. You know, my goal is so that everyone that sees me or goes through anyone that works with me, for them to rise above poverty, for them to lead a life of better financial health, and to create venues for them to be prosperous. That's what I want from them. What's going on, I mean, as you already may know, April 15th is right around the corner. It's about 32 days pretty much from today. And a lot of people still haven't filed. That's number one. And those that have filed have seen an 8.4% decrease on their refunds. That is something that, you know, hurts a lot of people because they were counting on that money. Usually, especially in low-income communities like the South Bronx, this is the biggest lump sum of money that they receive all year.
Right.
This is something that, it hurts them. At the same time, though, many people are receiving a bigger cut per paycheck. Last year, before this took effect, the tax cut reforms, a lot of people were at a higher tax bracket, so they did not see that much more money in their income. But now, after the tax reforms, they have seen that increase.
Right. And I have to tell you, Jonathan, this is my first year I've ever owed the government. And, why is that? Why are so many people owing the IRS this year? Is it because of the tax breaks that the Trump administration?
Well, that's the number one reason. Once the tax reforms happened, that occurred. One of the things that happened with the reform is that you cannot deduct certain things from your, on your taxes anymore. There's certain, especially entrepreneurs, especially small businesses, there's certain things you cannot put in there anymore that before you used to be able to, but you're no longer able to. Another thing that has happened is the fact that, people are not necessarily, they're not sure as to how many exceptions to put on their W-4 form. So when they do when you start a job, you fill that form out that you give to the employer. They probably, I have had clients that have had 9 exceptions. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you don't qualify for 9 exceptions. Maybe 1, maybe 2, but not 9. So at the end of the day, because you want that much more income now, later on you're not going to get it, right? But you end up owing. That's really what ends up happening.
That's interesting. And where could we find you? And where, if someone has questions about, their taxes or their income or just affordable housing, and how do you handle the affordable housing?
Well, right now what's going on in New York City, especially in the Bronx, as you can see, there's a lot of nice, beautiful buildings being built everywhere. Unfortunately, the affordable housing, in my opinion, is supposed to help those most vulnerable. Those most vulnerable are who? The senior citizens, the disabled population. But what is happening right now is that many landlords are rejecting clients because they have bad credit histories. And I'll tell you something right now. If these apartment buildings were made, right, for the seniors, for the most vulnerable populations, how is it possible that you're rejecting them for having medical bills in their credit report, right? For having a bad credit report just because, they're human, because they had credit card debt, right? They don't have enough income. Social Security is a fixed income, right? So I think, as of right now, there's something called the Earned Income Protection Act. This was passed back in 2009. And what it basically does is that it protects you from being garnished, right? I'm really, and I'm fighting for this. I'm talking to different people, letting them know, listen, we have to find a way of allowing affordable, the people who are giving affordable housing, the landlords, to give housing to those who need it because the income that they have is protected by the government. Therefore, they cannot get garnished, and therefore, the rent will be paid.
Right. And what is the process to the New York City housing lottery? This is actually the first city that I've actually seen do this. What is the process, and how do people get involved in it?
Well, the way it works right now in New York City is that whenever you see a new development, it's usually on New York City Housing Connect. Mm-hmm. So you go to the website, you would apply for it. You could be number 1 or you could be number 1 million. It really depends on how lucky you are. And then, for, let's say, 30, 40 apartments, it's probably 100,000 applications. So that's really the process. So based on your income, whether you qualify, you don't qualify, 100,000, applications for that one apartment could probably go down to maybe a couple of thousand. And that's what ends up happening.
All right. So we have to wrap up, but tell everyone where they can find you. I guess, if you have a business page on Instagram or if you have a...
Absolutely. Yeah, if anyone needs to reach me, J. Ortiz Finance TV on Instagram, J. Ortiz Finance at Gmail, or my Twitter. So I'm happy to help. I'm always here for the community, any financial questions they might have.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dorissa.
Appreciate it. We have to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more Open.